Done your worksheets and ready for next class. I welcome you to the chemistry class and we are going to start a new unit, right? Today, the last unit what we have learned? We have learned about physical and chemical changes. What is physical change? The change in which the chemical composition of the substance does not change is called physical change. The chemical composition of the substance changes, that particular change is called chemical change. Now in today's class, we are moving to our next chapter, that is elements, compounds and mixtures. What is element, compound and mixture? That we are going to learn. In today's class, we are going to learn about elements. Have you ever heard this word elements? What is element? What does element means? Element is a substance that cannot be break. We cannot break that element. It is a small substance that cannot be break. Some of the examples I have written here, listen. Hydrogen is an element. Carbon is an element. Oxygen is an element, etc. We have carbon, nitrogen, chlorine, etc. etc. We have many elements. What is this element? Consider in the world we have many things. Many things. Consider chalk piece is a thing. This marker is a thing. Chair, desk, etc. etc. We have many things. We cannot say how many things we have in this world. Anybody can say that? I cannot say. Can you say that? No, right? We cannot say how many things, how many matter we have in this world. But we can say all these matters, all the things in the world are made up of how many elements? 118 elements. Totally, we have 118 elements. All that we see in the world are made up of this 118 elements. In this, we have 92 elements occurring in nature. Then 26 elements man-made. Man has done something and found that elements. Now what is element? Element is an unbreakable substance that combines to form matter. Element has only one thing, that is a single thing. We cannot break that. Consider hydrogen. Hydrogen we denote with H, carbon with the C and oxygen with the O. Hydrogen is an element, carbon is an element and oxygen is an element. The symbol for hydrogen is H, carbon is C, oxygen is O. Consider now how we will write oxygen. O2, right? What is the chemical formula for oxygen? O2. Now, this oxygen is an element. It cannot be broken. But it is a combination of similar atoms. That is, oxygen is an element. This has 2 atoms of oxygen to form O2. These 2 oxygen atoms combine to form O2. This O2 is an element. So, element is a substance which is unbreakable. We cannot break that. If you break that, it is not oxygen. Okay? So, oxygen is an element. It is a combination of similar atoms. Same, right? 2 oxygen atoms combine to form an element, oxygen. Did you understand what is oxygen? What is element? Element is an unbreakable substance which is formed with a combination of similar atoms. This is one oxygen atom, this is another oxygen atom, O2. O2. This is oxygen element. The next, how many elements we have? Totally 118 elements we have. This 118 elements have some properties. Depending upon the properties of these elements, this 118 elements are divided into 4 types. One is metals, non-metals, metalloids. The fourth one is inert or noble gases. About this we will learn in the next classes. Next chapters we will learn about this. Now these elements are divided into 4 groups, that is metals, non-metals, metalloids and inert or noble gases. Now you are clear about what is an element. Element is an unbreakable substance. Actually, hydrogen is an element, carbon is an element, and oxygen is an element. But we denote oxygen as O2, right? This O is a symbol for oxygen. This is not the denotation of oxygen. This is a symbol for oxygen and we denote oxygen by O2. This is the element. Oxygen is the element. This oxygen is made of 2 oxygen atoms. So an element is the unbreakable substance. It is made of atoms of similar element. Next we can see about representation of these elements. Representation of elements. How we will represent these elements? We can see about it. The elements, as I said, the elements are made up of atoms of similar molecules. These elements, how we can denote? It is denoted by some symbols. They are called chemical symbol. They are called chemical symbol. Now consider carbon. What is the symbol for carbon? C. Consider hydrogen. What is the symbol for hydrogen? H. Oxygen? O. Now we have some rules. Based on that, these elements are given some symbols or names represented using some symbols. There are 2 rules. The first rule is the symbols of the element will have 1 or 2 letters. All the elements in the world is represented using 1 letter or 2 letter. How this 1 letter and 2 letter are chosen, we can see. Consider carbon, its symbol is capital C. Now you consider carbon and chlorine. Usually the symbols will be taken from the first letter of the name of the element. Carbon, its first letter is C. So its symbol is capital C. Now consider chlorine. What is the first letter? C, right? But we cannot give C. So in such cases, when 2 elements have same first letters, one more thing, it is chromium. It is represented by 2 letters Cr. When we represent using 2 letters, the first letter should be capital and the second letter should be small. See, both in chlorine and chromium, the C is capital and R here in chlorine L is small letters. So did you understand how we had to represent the elements? There are 2 rules. The element should be represented using chemical symbols. The symbol should have only 1 letter or 2 letters. In case when we get the same first letter for more than 1 elements, we can use 2 letters. These 2 letters, the first letter, when we use 2 letters, the first letter should be capital and the second letter should be small letter. Did you understand what is an element and representation of elements? What is an element? It is an unbreakable substance. From what these elements are made up of? Atoms of similar atoms. O2, 2 oxygen. H2, 2 hydrogen. So these elements are made up of atoms of similar substance. Then representation of elements. Elements can be represented using chemical symbols. 2 rules. The symbol should have 1 or 2 letters. Then when we have more than 1 elements starting with the same letter, then we have to use 2 letters. As like in carbon C, chlorine Cl, chromium Cl. How many elements we have in the world? How many elements? 118 elements, out of which 92 are natural elements and 26 elements are man-made. Did you understand? Now, in book they have given some symbols of elements. We can go through that. In that they have given 3 types. Okay, 3 types of symbols they have given. But first one is symbols using 1 letter. That is carbon, symbol is C. Then another type they have given is symbols using 2 letters. Example, chromium, chlorine. What is the symbol for chlorine? Cl. Chromium, Cr. Then the third type of symbol given is some symbols. For example, sodium. Sodium is an element. Its chemical symbol is N, capital N and A. Small letter A. Na is the chemical symbol for sodium. How this sodium got its symbol as Na? It is the third type. That is, some letters, some words, some symbols are derived from their Greek or Latin words. That is, the sodium, its Greek or Latin word is natrium. From that, it got its symbol as Na. So, 3 types, single letter, 2 letters and third one is chemical symbols based upon Greek or Latin translation. In English we have sodium, the Greek or Latin translation is natrium. So, the symbol for sodium is Na. So, shall we move on to the symbols? Okay. Take your book and move on to page number 40. Take page number 40. There they have given some symbols using single letter. Hydrogen H, carbon C, nitrogen N, oxygen O, phosphorus P, sulfur S, iodine I. Did you note? These are all the letters, first letters of the element. H, hydrogen first letter, carbon C first letter, nitrogen N, oxygen O, phosphorus P, sulfur S and iodine I. Next, 2 letters. Helium He, magnesium Mg, aluminium Al, silicon Si, chlorine Cl, calcium Ca, magnesium Mn, cobalt CO, zinc Zn. These all are using 2 letters. Did you understand? The first letter will be capital letter and the second letter will be small letter. So, 2 types we have studied. Single letter and 2 letters. Then we have another type that is derived from Latin words. We can learn about their Latin words, simple and element. Come, sodium is the element. Its original language name is natrium. So, it takes a symbol Na. Potassium, its original language name is kalium. So, it takes the symbol K. Iron, it is ferrum, so it is Fe. Copper, it is cuprum, so it takes the simple Cu. Silver, argentum, so it takes the simple Ag. Gold, aurum, so it is Au. Next is mercury, its name is hydrargyrum, so it takes the symbol Hg. Next is lead, its original name is plumbum, so it takes the symbol Pb. Tin, original name is tannum, so it takes the symbol Sn. Tungsten, original name is wolfram, so the symbol for tungsten is W. Antimony, antimony, its original name is stibium, so it takes the symbol Sb. Once again, sodium Na, potassium K, iron Fe, copper Cu, silver Ag, gold Au, mercury Hg, lead Pb, tin Sn, tungsten W, antimony Sb. Have you clear about the elements and symbols? So, we have learnt about elements. What is an element? Element is unbreakable substance formed of similar atoms. Then we have learned about examples of elements, representation of elements, that is representation using single letter and two letters. Then what are the things we have learned? Elements, many elements and its symbols. How we will represent elements using chemical symbols. So we have learned about the chemical symbols of many elements. For example, what is the symbol for carbon? Symbol for chlorine, Cl. Symbol for potassium, K. Why potassium has the symbol K? Yeah, it is named because the Latin or original language of potassium is starting with K. So it is named K. Why sodium is named Na? Because its original language is natrium. So it is named Na. You are clear about it, right? Then what we are going to learn in the next class? The next class we are going to learn about today we have learned about elements. What is our unit 3? Elements, compounds and mixtures. So what we will learn in the next class? Compounds. What is compounds? Any of you know or any of you can guess what is compounds? Here we have learned elements. Hydrogen is an element, chlorine is an element. We have to combine any two elements to form compounds. What is compounds? You have to combine two elements, two or more elements to form compounds. So in the next class we can learn about compounds. And your today's work is you have to learn all the elements, name of the element, its symbols. Okay? You have to learn and write it in the booklet very neatly. Did you understand? Okay, we will meet you in the next class. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.